Notice of this meeting was provided to the Western Leader, advertised on January 4th, 2018. Notification was sent to the Star Ledger, promptly posted on the Municipal Public Bulletin Board and filed in the office of the Municipal Clerk, informing the public of the time and place according to the provisions of the Open Public Meeting Law, Chapter 231, PL 1975. Good evening, everyone, and welcome. Okay. Ms. Apollonia, do you have anything for us today?
No.
Thank you. Ms. Ariam, do you have anything for us?
I do. So, you all got my email about students in government, but not everybody was agreeable, so you have to make a decision. 15th or the 29th. You go for the 15th, just like my email said, it has to be at 6, because that's Board of Ed meeting night, or the 29th, it could be at 7.
I can't do the 29th.
The 15th, you make this
Either
thing?
one is
I
fine.
can do the 15th.
They're both
That's it.
Tuesdays.
I can do the
Yeah.
15th.
I can do the 15th.
at
Okay,
6.
They requested that it be at 6 o'clock, because they have Board of Ed meeting. Is that okay with everyone?
Do we have anything?
I'll try.
Thank you.
It's fine.
You'll send an email to you?
Yeah, I'll just check with them, make sure they're okay
Okay.
with that, and then I'll send them an email. And I'll try one of them. The other thing is, you guys got the Memorial Day parade thing, so I have to respond before I see you again. So I just need to know, I don't need to know who's participating, just that you are. If you are, and I'll send this in that you are.
Yes, yes, Ms. Ariam.
That's all I have.
Any questions? Ms. Ariam, I have a question.
Yes.
I was going through my planning board mail. I didn't see the fence ordinance in there. We were supposed to send it to the planning board.
I did.
Okay, then I'll talk to Adele then.
I'll double check my notes.
Okay,
But I'm more than certain of it.
okay, thank you.
But I'll double check.
Okay.
Mayor, if you don't mind, I have a response. I don't think I'll make the 15th,
Oh,
so
I'm sorry.
I know I wrote an email to her. I'm great for the 29th, but the 15th, I don't think I'll be here.
Well, yes,
You're
you,
not required to be
Okay,
here,
so
but that
everybody knows.
student that doesn't have,
you just miss out on the pizza.
I don't remember any pizza.
Do you remember seeing the plan?
Is there pizza?
Every year.
Actually, I can confirm what he said.
It's not.
Yeah, I didn't see it either.
Make-
No problem.
You have your piece from last year?
Huh?
So you want piece?
Any unfinished business for the council this evening? Any new business? I have a short report for this evening. I'm in receipt of an email from Mr. Chris Links, representing Russo Development, through many conversations with him in conjunction with Chief Wright. He is thrilled to tell us that his construction department will be able to relocate and move the fencing installed in the lot next to the fire department. That will open many more parking spaces for the senior club, fire and police departments, having direct access to the first parking entrance near the firehouse. I've also formed a committee of myself and Councilman Lazaro to coordinate a ribbon cutting ceremony as soon to be renovated Hartman Park on 2nd Avenue. This committee will be supported by Borough Celebrations Committee to organize the event. More details will be announced as soon as available. As previously mentioned, the Liquid Church will again be conducting a free senior outreach program for light yard work and planting. This will take place on Saturday, May 12th, from 9 a.m. to noon, with a rain date of May 19th. The representative will join me at the next senior club meeting to explain the details. The sign-up sheets for seniors will be available at that meeting. Just a reminder, this Saturday, April 28th, I will again take Mayor Saturday on the road. This time will be held at Escapology on South Avenue from 11 a.m. to noon. I have invited Councilman Joe Sarno to join me. Please stop by to chat or express your concerns. Immediately following Mayor Saturday, I will resume Mayor's Wellness Campaign with my 3K walk, beginning at Borough Hall at approximately 12:15. This is open to all residents regardless of ability. It is a walk, not a competition. Thank you. Thank you. At least somebody smiled. Okay, we'll move on. Comments and matters for discussion from members of council. Council President Blumenstock.
Thank you, Mayor. First, I just want to give my thanks to the DPW. I know Councilman Lazaro will discuss it a little further in his report, and I will as well, but the DPW has done a terrific job helping us with the demo work at Hartman Park, a project that's obviously very important to me. I've been liaising with the department throughout this whole last week just to oversee the work, and they've been very helpful, so I just wanted to extend my appreciation. I also want to thank the Garwood Fire Department for inviting us to attend their drills this past week. I was able to spend a couple of hours watching the firefighters use the house that will soon be raised on Russo 2 to simulate fire and rescue scenarios. It was really something to see them in action firsthand, and I got to ask many questions, and I learned a lot about their operations. So I just want to say thank you to Chief Tweedle and his whole department. Also, I wanted to announce that on May 1st, the Board of Education will be holding an important safety forum at 7 p.m. before their budget meeting. This forum will allow the public an opportunity to ask the superintendent questions and offer their suggestions about school safety. In the aftermath of all those school shootings, I know I felt it was important that we always continue to re-examine Lincoln school safety measures, and that we hear from our school authorities about all they do to protect our children and our teachers. So I'm extremely happy to have this opportunity, and I encourage everyone, not just parents of school children, but all residents to attend. So that's it. Thank you for my report. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
Mayor, the fence ordinance was emailed on March 28th.
Thank you. Okay, we'll continue. Councilman Recupero.
Thank you, Mayor. I just have a few words about Hartman Park. And we as elected members of council have an obligation to make sure the safety of our residents and the safety of those that put their lives on the line every day takes precedence over everything. This, of course, includes the safety of all those that volunteer for our fire department. Unfortunately, I was not a part of the Finance Committee over the past year or so, and I was not privy to the mistakes of the past regarding funding. We put our trust to those that made the decisions, and we move on. Also unfortunate has been the political grandstanding of the decisions of this year's Finance Committee, of which I have the honor of sitting on. The spins and fabrications coming out by those with an agenda have been outright disgusting. That said, we need to make a decision. We need to decide what is truly important, so I'm asking my colleagues up here to make a tough but obvious decision. It is obvious now that decisions on spending for projects that are nice to have should have been looked at more closely against things that we need to have, like safety equipment for the fire department. I am asking that this council reconsider the full funding of Hartman Park and reallocate those funds to ensure the safety of the men and women that risk their lives running into burning houses. We should not punish the fire department because of poor decisions like the design of the Little League field, which is setting the taxpayers back about $150,000. We need to learn from the mistakes of the past and make decisions based on needs over wants. We already spent over $3 million on an athletic field that includes a park. As I said, let's please revisit our funding of Hartman Park, scale it down over 2 years, and take care of the safety of our fire department. Now, although I really support this budget, I don't like what's been going on surrounding this budget. I think it's unfair to everybody. So I would ask everybody up on council to think again about this and see if we can spread Hartman Park out over 2 years and take care of whatever some people feel we're underfunding the fire department. Even though all my facts and figures state that we're not, but I think that's a good way to compromise. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Lazaro.
Well, just in regards to funding it over 2 years, so logistically, I don't even know if that would be possible at this point because we've already bonded for that amount. We've already paid the contract for the purchase of the equipment. So that ship has sailed. And there's not any way we go back and pay the money. The purchase has been made and the equipment is already being ordered as we speak.
Well, I'm just putting my feelings forward for everybody.
I'm not saying it's right or wrong, I'm just saying that's not a feasible decision to make at this point. I mean, there are other areas that we could certainly talk about where we can, you know, where from the other budget we could do, but I just know that ship has sailed, so. So anyway, on another note, I'm just gonna move on, so one of our Girl Scouts troops asked to create a mural on the storage shed at Hartman Park once the new equipment has been installed, and I had Tina send everyone a rough sketch of the images this morning, so I don't know if you all had a chance to take a look at it. They're thinking of using that and wanted to get some feedback from the council if everyone is on board with allowing them to proceed. This would happen, of course, after the installation of Hartman Park. They just wanted to get some feedback that they were generally okay. These are just generally rough sketches. Obviously, they'll have a more finalized sketch for us once they kind of get set, you know, words of encouragement that the council is okay with the idea of putting these kind of messages and images of friendship, and they have idea of animals, kind of, yeah, obviously you saw some of the images there. So is there any problems or is there support for this idea moving forward?
I'm not opposed to that.
Okay.
I mean, if it's anything, even half as what they did on the bus stop, I mean, come on.
Yeah.
How do you say
Right.
no to that?
I think this is a great idea, to put some color into that shed. We couldn't move the shed because of the cost, so having a mural on there will definitely help the overall feel of the park. So, and I think the ideas were great about friendship. And it ties in with the Girl Scout, that's the Girl Scout theme.
Councilman, I would have no problem with this project, but I just would be concerned about the materials that are used. That's all. Just
Sure.
make sure that specifications are known and what they're going to use.
Yeah, I think they just want the acknowledgement that, you know, that they can move forward with presenting a more final plan to us, and then once we find that plan out, we'll definitely make sure that they're using appropriate materials.
Okay, thank you.
This is just pictures. Because I saw,
Yeah,
there's a name
yeah.
on there, so how?
Sorry, what do you think? Yeah, that's just the name of the person.
Okay, just, yeah, I just want to make sure there's
It's not
only
gonna be
one
one.
child. Okay.
No.
Okay,
It's just they had one of the Girl Scouts
okay,
make the
that's
picture.
okay. I was gonna say, how they picking one and what
No,
about all
no,
the rest?
no.
Okay.
That's all.
Okay, thank you. Councilman McCormick?
Yes, Mayor, thank you. I'd like to take us all back to our last council meeting. And Councilman Lazaro had given a report on Hartman Park. And after his report, or during his report, he discussed that the DPW would be helping out with removing the equipment at Hartman Park. After he was done with his report, I had a comment or two that I don't recall his resurrect what he said about Hartman Park where the DPW was gonna take out old equipment. So with that said, after our meeting at 10:11 at night, Councilman Lazaro took the time out to send me a report of 12/26/17, stating in his report that he did put forth to the council and to the public that the DPW will be taking down the equipment at Hartman Park. So the next morning at 5:52, I responded to Councilman Lazaro. So for the record, for this council, and for everybody in attendance, and for everybody in Garwood, I am sorry that I questioned you. This may be odd for people on council to do this, I apologize. So I just want to get that for the record, so I'm sorry, Councilman Lazaro.
I appreciate that, thank you.
Thank you,
That's it
Council-
for me, thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Sarno, please.
Thank you, Mayor. On Monday, April 16th, Councilwoman Tedisco, Blumenstock, and I handed over to Roselle Park to discuss the premise and potential of having shared services with the DPW of their borough. We were joined by their acting superintendent, borough clerk, municipal engineer, and their municipal shared services committee, which consists of 3 committee members. In our meeting, we found that they are actively pursuing a full-time superintendent and are in the beginning stages of reaching out to neighboring towns to see if there's an opportunity to share various services, including, but not limited to, superintendent and scheduled street sweeping. We shared information regarding our current arrangement with Fanwood and what the current makeup of our DPW staff and inventory is today. We spoke about potential needs, wants, and most of all, establish a foundation so future communication can easily be achieved between our 2 boroughs. Our committee agrees that there isn't the potential at this moment to go into a shared service. However, the door is open should the situation present itself in the future. And again, I I think it was a productive meeting overall. It's just that, it's just not there at this point in time. But we should always be actively pursuing shared services agreements constantly to see if we can always find a better deal. And I think that's something that we all agree on unanimously. So, thank you. And that's all for my report, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilman Tedesco?
Thank you, Mayor. That's okay. I know I have a lot of papers spread out here too. Thank you. So, in fact, to follow up on Councilman Sarno's report, given that we've investigated that path, would this council now feel comfortable moving forward with the Fanwood agreement as laid out in previous meetings?
The street sweeping, that's all gonna be laid out in the contract, that we'll be able to
Correct.
review.
Correct.
Okay.
Mhm. Okay. Couple items that I prepared for this evening. One is a thank you to our police department for hosting a visit of homeschooled children here at the headquarters, and I've learned that they do these tours quite frequently for different school groups, and I think that's wonderful. So I want to thank the police department for that. Also want to thank the fire department for their invitations to the drills this past week. I was able to attend 2 out of 3 of them, and it was definitely an eye-opening experience and just, fantastic. Thank you for inviting the council to that. On the issue of redevelopment and Russo development now underway with its construction, or rather the demolition phase of the South Avenue development, I would just like to encourage this council and perhaps the mayor to reach out to Russo about having a town hall style meeting on what they plan to do with this construction, timelines, their measures that they plan to put in place to ensure safety, that there aren't airborne particles going around that could make people sick, either in the short term or the long term. Make sure it's done with the utmost safety. They've already agreed to hold these meetings, so I think it's just a matter of putting a date on the calendar.
I believe I can answer that right now.
Okay.
I've been in contact with Mr. Minks and with multiple questions of safety of the community and the project, and we tentatively scheduled a meeting, a town hall meeting for the end of July, early August.
Okay.
Okay.
End of July, early August.
Mhm.
So does that mean that the buildings, the main buildings on the north side of South Avenue won't come down until then?
No, it's just before the project starts, that's the explanation.
Okay. I would just want to maybe follow up on that because while the buildings are coming down, I've learned through our police chief that that will be done piecemeal. That making sure it's remediated properly and taken down properly. I think when the residents around that area see the buildings start coming down and people probably with masks on, they want to know that what's going on.
As you know, I just came back from vacation. I have a complete list of questions that I did submit before, and I will review that report back to council.
Great,
I can
thank you.
Give a little background from the planning board too. That goes
Sure,
right to
that'd be
exactly
great.
what you're talking about. There was a lot of
Stuff.
environmental
Yeah.
question marks, okay, with that project. And it was outlined in great detail. I know Charles is right there with me, listening to all this. So, in fact, they actually have to take each substance, whether it's like the metal has to go to a certain plant and get treated, the bricks have to go somewhere else. So it is going to be done piecemeal, but there's a reason for that, and that's because they have to follow strict EPA guidelines. And that's exactly what Russo plans to do. Is follow these. They have an environmental consultant, as we found out, and that is what I think is a better reason for us to give if we do have that question. If there's a question of what are people doing with these masks, they're going to be constantly watering it as well, and keep it that way. The dust stays contained within the project. So I hope this kind of opens up what you're looking for.
It does, I appreciate that, and I think that would be great to get on the borough website sooner rather than later because of this major demolition project the town's looking at. Let's see here.
Who's gonna be monitoring that?
This,
Is the state gonna be in there?
they have an environmental consultant that's going to have to be there, and everything has to be monitored by, following different federal and state
Because
guidelines.
these are very dangerous things, so there's
Of
gonna be
course.
somebody there
It
nonstop
took years for
monitoring.
them to get, or at least a year to get the approval, if I'm
Yeah.
not mistaken.
I'm sorry. Mayor, maybe we could talk to them about possibly pushing up the town hall so that some of these questions can get answered for the public, just, you know,
Indicated on his new report.
for a larger
Good
audience.
job, Dan.
Thank you.
And then just, Mayor, one other item, since it came up about the budget, and I know we have the public hearing later, and we have time for the council to discuss that, and then have the vote on the budget. In particular, though, Councilman Kukrow, I know we've spoken a couple times since the last council meeting about this issue, so I have to say, I feel a little bit blindsided by a fellow member of the committee, and it makes, questioning the motives behind this year's budget, or discussing grandstanding, and I don't know who that's directed at, but I think that the most productive way about going about something like this is if you're in that committee to share it, because then we could maybe have come up with a plan as a finance committee to present to the whole council, and in particular to follow up on what to do about your suggestion of funding the fire department additional monies than what the finance committee recommended. If Hartman Park is not the answer, as Councilman Lazaro spoke about, and I'm sure our auditor or CFO could speak to as well, where exactly in the budget should we pull money to cover the fire department increase?
Unfortunately, all this grandstanding has been going on for the past month. It wasn't going on when we were on the finance committee, none of it was going on.
But
And I
this
can
is-
clearly see what's been going on in council meetings. And as I'm here till the end of this year currently, I don't want to watch it, and I don't want to listen to it.
I don't either, but I think the
And I'm not
best way.
pointing to any one particular person.
I think this is getting to a point where you better be back in a committee meeting, not on the council floor. We
Well, she
can
asked me a
discuss it.
question.
I'm not saying don't discuss it, I'm saying the details of this conversation.
Okay. I'm sure we'll discuss the budget later, as I pointed out in the regular meeting, but while we're waiting to get to that point, I do have a spreadsheet on the fire department operating budget, because I know Councilman McCormick brought this issue up at the last council meeting, and Councilman McCormick and I have spoken on the phone since as well. I tried to answer his questions that he had about the fire department budget, but also others about legal and capital as well. And essentially, we had a great discussion, it was productive, and in the end of the day, we can all have difference of opinions. It's wonderful. That's what we're up here to discuss and eventually make decisions on. So what I want to give everyone is a copy of the fire department's operating budget, other expenses, so that's outside of the $1,000 salary line, from 2010 through this year, 2018. And so let me see. I'm going to give this one to Councilman McCormick. This should go down this way. And Ms. Ariema, if you don't mind putting this out there in case any members of the public would like to see it. So just to quickly walk through this though, you can see that the fire department other expenses, which is their operating budget for this year, is funded more than it ever has been. In fact, it's a $7,000 increase over last year's budget. And you can see there that number of years, so 2010, we have 53,000, I'll just use rough numbers, 53,000 budgeted, 41,000 spent. The following year, the budget was trimmed $850. The next year, you have a $52,000 budget, 37,000 expended. Therefore, there was a trim the following year. And going forward, you can see there are a number of years where there may be an increase to the fire department's budget. Sometimes $1,450, $800. One year, 2014, it was actually increased $9,100. 2015, it was taken back $1,300, but it hadn't spent $13,000 the previous year. Then it remained flat. Last year, after $62,000 was budgeted and only $40,000 spent, it was trimmed back a little bit last year, close to $3,000. But this year here, even looking at last year's budget, which was not spent in full, we are still increasing this budget $7,000 over last year. So, as Councilwoman Kukrow pointed out, when we looked at this in the Finance Committee as well, we are fully funding the fire department. While we are not granting every dollar that was requested, that's often the case with many departments. They come in and they'll make a request, and then the Finance Committee carefully examines it, discusses it, and then makes a recommendation to the council, which could very well, and more often than not, involve some type of cut, even if it's a very small one. I know a councilman, when I was first on council, 2011, Councilman Sluka said, with the budget, don't take an axe, but take a scalpel. And I think that was a very powerful quote. when you look at a municipal budget like this. And you're talking about services that we all very much value. We value our fire department, we value our police department, our DPW, our administrative staff, as well as also our EMS. Can't forget about them, our first aid squad that's funded in the budget as well. So we can talk further. I'm really open-minded here. I want to hear other ideas about where to take money from potentially, but that's just where I stand for now.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to public comment. Anyone in the audience who wishes to address the mayor and council, please step to the microphone. State your full name and address. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes.
Aloha, Mayor. Ladies and gentlemen of the council, Bruce Patterson, 325 Willow Avenue. The hazmat doc, did you ever get a copy of the hazmat plan? Is that?
I have that part of the email that I mentioned that I just got.
And I was talking to Attorney Ninks, Russo, about a historical item, but in passing, he said, the asbestos remediation is almost done over there. That the public doesn't see like the little hazardous people dressed up, and because we're all in the back, that's where the operation's going on. So you don't actually see it in the front on South Avenue. And I don't know, but Borough Hall, I'm sure, has a concern because it is. They're all like working from the back of the building. So that's what he was telling me. But it was just a pass. I had talked to Councilor Blumenstock the other week about. I was just wondering about the number of permits, weapon permits, and the number of weapons in Garwood. I don't know. Did you look into
You know
that?
what? I did not, you're right. I did not ask the chief. I will do that.
Yeah,
There's
if we're
a few
so
other things
concerned,
that
we're so
came up.
concerned about safety. It sounds like something maybe we should have.
I believe that he reviewed the resolution in the list, in this that gave us, it's in here.
The number of permits.
I believe so.
And I do know you do need a permit for each firearm. We were
Oh, yeah,
discussing whether, yeah, we were discussing whether that is the case, and that is.
The shed at Hartman Park, and I don't want to put down the Girl Scouts because they did a great job over there at the bus stop on North Avenue. But if you're gonna decorate another building or shed or whatever, maybe another organization, give equal time to other organizations like Boy Scouts maybe.
Well, I'll just say they volunteered, but it's actually a different Girl Scout group than the one that did the Lions Club bus shelter. These are an older grade, so it is some different kids in the town doing it. And I do have the number for you, Mr. Patterson. It's 513 Garwood residents have firearm ID cards, and 837 handgun permits have been issued. Thank you, Councilman.
Just to raise eyebrows.
And you can't add them together.
All right, I just and also I'd just like to thank Councilman Sarno for coming to the freeholder meeting the other day. It's good that Sarah has this rotating, although nobody really shows up, and Joe did, so thank you very much, Joe. Oh, and next coming up Thursday.
I won't be able to make it. I have a benefit day.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Al Beltonti, 545 Locust Avenue. A couple comments on the gas utility work that's going on Anchor and Winslow and Third and North, and I think it's going to be a section of Spruce. I had a lengthy conversation with the Elizabethtown gas inspector that is on that project. I asked him about the, who watches over these guys, who inspects them, and so on and so forth. He is running 4 jobs right now, so he pops in and out from job to job. But he informed me that whatever our engineer specs for the project is what is the guidelines that they have to follow. And if in the spec, it's in there to have an inspector there for the town to watch over them. they pay for that. Whether it is somebody on our payroll or if it is an independent contractor that we hire to supervise them while they're doing this work, they pay for it. So for the past how many years I've been complaining about this, meeting after meeting, here's the answer to getting that done. And then I asked him about doing the milling and paving of the road, because I know that Anchor Place is scheduled to be paved this fall, and the utility company does half of the road. I asked him if they do any kind of negotiating with the town or with builders, and he said absolutely. And I threw it at him as far as like not paving Anchor, because we're paying for it, and because they're gonna do Winslow Place, maybe they can push the credits over to Winslow and mill and pave the entire street. And he said, sure, we can work that out, have somebody give us a call, give him a call, and discuss it with them. They do it all the time. So, I mean, because of what happened over on West Street with the gas company, they came in and milled and paved and did, I don't know, 500-600 feet of west. And then 3 months later, we came in, the town came in, and ripped all of their work up to replace all the curbs. You could have taken the dollar amount there and had them either, because he said they even give you a credit, they'll write a check to the town to pay for that, the work that they don't do, because it's already in their budget. So I don't know if it's our engineer that handles that, or if it's our superintendent at the DPW, but we have a direction now that we can go in, and hopefully this isn't gonna take a very long time to settle down, because I think in 3 months, they're gonna be paving that, coming in to do the milling and paving. So hopefully we can look into that and maybe, you know, save us a little bit of money. Thank you.
Anyone else? Seeing none at this time. Do I have a motion to adjourn this portion of the meeting?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Should we move on, council? All rise for a moment of silence and salute to the flag. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Notice of the meeting was provided to the Westfield Leader. Advertised on January 4, 2018. Notification was sent to the Star Ledger, promptly posted on the Municipal Public Bulletin Board, and filed in the office of the municipal clerk, informing the public in time and place according to the provisions of the Open Public Meeting Law, Chapter 231, PL 1975. Ms. Ariema, roll call.
Mayor Lombardo?
Here?
Councilman Kukrow?
Here.
Councilman Lazaro?
Here.
Councilman McCormick?
Here.
Councilman Sarno?
Here.
Councilman Disco? Here. Council President Blumenstock?
Here.
I'd like a motion to suspend the regular order of business, the whole public hearing on 2018 municipal budget as advertised in the Westfield Leader.
So moved. Second.
All in favor? Ms. Ariema, do you have a list of correspondence?
None, Mayor.
Thank you. Does anyone here present like to be heard concerning the municipal budget 2018?
Jim Matthew, 335 Hazel Avenue. Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to say, I see an opening here for a bipartisan compromise. I think that the spending cuts to our volunteer fire department should be reversed Councilwoman Tedisco said she's open-minded on this. Councilwoman Kukrow has said that she wanted to go ahead and fund this. I'm starting to see a consensus start to coalesce here. I think that's fantastic. A comment on this document that was handed out by Councilwoman Tedisco, Mayor, this is apropos of nothing. These are just numbers on a page. There was a cut to the request from our volunteer fire department, and there was a specific complaint made by the fire chief to the fire commissioner that they need turnout gear. They need safety equipment, okay? The line item for our volunteer fire department, $66,500. I doubt anywhere in New Jersey you can get one paid fighter, anywhere. And we get an entire department for that. Let's come together, Democrats and Republicans, and go ahead and restore these cuts. And I agree with Councilwoman Kukrow, the grandstanding has been atrocious. It's time to put the politics aside. Everyone wants credit for the zero tax increase. No one wants credit for the spending cut it took to get there. That's why people hate politicians. Please come and restore this $10,000. We're looking at 1/8 of 1%. And to you, Mayor, specifically, do you support this cut, or do you, because we haven't heard anything from you on this, do you support restoring this funding?
I support.
Thank you. You support the cut?
No. I support the budget overall because I think we all waited for a zero increase for a long time, as Councilwoman Tedesco said. But also, too, I have issues in other areas, such as basically using prepaid taxes in the budget for, also, too, one-time revenues. I think that's a problem for the future. I think overall that these are my concerns about the budget in general terms.
Okay, well then following along those lines, and I'll finish up, it's very rare, if ever, you're gonna see me argue in favor of spending and tax increases. Then I propose, rather than take it to Parkman Park or somewhere else, let's go ahead and increase taxes, $10,000, about $5 a household. And both campaigns can go ahead and say we had a near zero tax increase. Okay, and I think this is what we get. We have two mayoral candidates on the finance committee. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else at this time?
Oddly enough, it's just gonna be a couple questions, not a billion. How's that, Tina?
Seeing is believing.
Good evening, Mayor, ladies and gentlemen, the council meeting management, 325 Royal Avenue. I couldn't figure out, what's our debt? There's that one sheet that talks about our debt. What's the total debt? It's like our You listed the school board debt. Yeah, no, you listed that.
So our net debt with the municipality
Yeah.
is this amount every year.
3.88 billion. Yeah, I have that. I couldn't figure out, I was over here, the school debt there.
Yeah, you need to, well, this time on the show, I mean, let's see.
All right. Thank you, and, yeah, on this sheet, I'm looking at the 2017 tax levy, the 2018 projected tax levy, and the municipal end, I thought it was flat, but actually it went down.
It had to because our ratables went down, so in order to have a flat tax, you have to. Sorry. Yeah, the tax, the appropriations are down because of the reduction in ratables.
How do our ratables get reduced?
The assessor, appeals, or negotiations, they have to reduce the rate.
Okay, and unfortunately, Mr. Don's not here, so that would be a good question to ask about how many appeals You
That's
already.
actually
I think
part of the
there's.
user-friendly budget. We have 21 county tax board appeals, and there's 3 at the state tax court. That was in 2017.
Yeah, and I guess I also echo the concern about, from the mayor, talking about the prepaid taxes. Can you just go over that again? I know you talked about it at that mini hearing that we had, about taxes came in, that Russo paid money up front. And it kind of offset a lot of, this one-time shot,
This is 75,000 that we got?
the 175?
No, 75.
Those are the fees.
Oh, that was the fee, right?
Right.
But then there was taxes,
Prepaid.
Westwood came figured in there somehow too.
Didn't get it back then.
Oh, back taxes.
Right.
And then you mentioned about people paying ahead of time, like about $500,000.
Right. Normally, in the past, people prepay their taxes occasionally. They might pay February and December, around $150,000. But last year, we had a significant amount of people come in and pay first and second quarter of 18 to take advantage of the tax laws that were changed by the president. So we had a lot more prepaid taxes at year end, which factored into the amount of surplus that we ended up with this year. That's probably what you're referring to as a one-time
Same,
revenue.
do you know how much prepaid taxes were
It was
approximately?
around $500,000.
I would say 550.
Yeah, it was
Okay.
A lot.
500,000 roughly.
That was more than my money, thank you.
But that
It's
number.
taxes that were due, they just paid them in 17 instead of 18.
Anticipation of the tax.
Oh, okay, so, I mean, that's the normal thing would be spread out anyway over the years, so that $500 million really doesn't like give an added, impact to the decrease of our taxes.
No, it has no bearing.
There you go.
No.
And the fire department, for some,
Fiscal years?
I'm
It
sorry.
has no impact between fiscal
Prepaying
years?
your taxes?
No, prepaid. I just want to clarify that there's no impact, or what kind of an impact you're going to have to the surplus going from one fiscal year to the next.
no matter when you pay it.
Right, is there no impact? Is there some impact?
Prepaying your taxes impacted your surplus this year.
Right.
Because, we have your reserve fund collected and,
Sure.
by prepaying, you took more money in. And actually, people, in order to prepay, they had to pay their current year taxes. The property he's referring to usually is delinquent. So we have reserve fund collected taxes in the budget.
Yep.
And when they brought their taxes current, we took that in, it impacted your surplus this year.
Right.
That's not gonna happen next year.
I understand. So this first half of 18, which is in the budget, we're talking, we're actually talking 7/1 on, essentially, right?
I'm sorry. say
Are
that.
we're talking July 1st, 2018 on for this budget?
118.
Well, I mean, the new tax bills come out in July, but what you're paying first and second quarter are preliminary taxes. When your new tax bills come out, it's kind of truing up what's really owed.
Right.
So,
I understand that part.
we work on a calendar budget year.
Calendar, not a fiscal, all right, so
No.
the fiscal is the calendar, I understand that. I just want to at least get clarity, because it goes right into Bruce's question. Is there any kind of real impact here in terms of having a surplus and then not one in another period? So if there wasn't, if it was out there that people were thinking that there was a 6/30 fiscal year end, maybe there would be an impact in that sense.
Mr. Patterson, any more questions?
Mr. Patterson, did that answer your question, or do you want the
Yeah, actually, it
auditors to
did.
speak
No,
about the
you went
prepaid?
beyond,
Okay,
you went beyond.
just want to
I mean,
make sure.
Yeah, there's no impact. I would assume probably that $500,000 would sit in the bank or some kind of interest. So I mean, there's a little bit, but.
Minimal.
And I just wanted to, everybody's talking about the fire department. I would assume the financial committee did look at everything and size it up properly and actually increased from last year $7,000. So, something's in there to cover whatever is necessary. And this could go down to one of the items that Ivy Cooper was talking about, spread it over 2 years. Then, that's but I don't see any problem with it, but I wasn't on the financial committee. So, thank you very much, and for all the
Thank you.
work that everybody's done. A flat tax, you can't argue that. And it's just remind me, the last 15 years, the school tax actually went down about $6 one time, and the county taxes went down $30 one time. Thank you very much.
Welcome. Anyone else like to step forward? Seeing none at this time. Do I have a motion to close the public hearing on ordinance 2018 municipal budget?
So moved.
Second?
Do I have a motion to adopt 2018 municipal budget?
I'll make that motion. We'll have discussion after it's moved and seconded, right?
That's on.
Okay.
Second. Discussion? Okay.
I do have some clarifying questions that, based on what has been brought up here tonight. Councilman McCormick, did the fire chief make a specific complaint to you about the budget? Because I did speak with him, and I did not hear any specific complaint. Or was it something that you are bringing up? You happen to be the fire commissioner, but this is your opinion.
So how would you like me to respond to that? Are you putting me up on point like to answer the
No,
question specifically? or-
Absolutely not.
Okay.
The statement was made earlier that there was a specific complaint, and it was by a member of the
So you
public.
had a citizen of the town come up and
Right.
voice his opinion, and let's just keep it at that. And
Okay.
please don't put me up to that position again, because I am the fire chief. And if you spoke to the fire chief prior to me, that's not correct either, so let's just leave it at that. Thank you.
Okay, we can absolutely leave it that it's an opinion of a member of the public, and thank you for saying that. One second there. Do we all feel comfortable about the prepaid taxes question that came up by the mayor as well as a member of the public? Okay, I just want to make sure. Other thoughts before we move forward?
Sure. As a member of the Finance Committee, I certainly would like to take a second to sort of address the elephant in the room that has become sort of this, as we've said before, some grandstanding things going on. I don't like what's going on with it either. With the fire department, I don't, Mr. Matthew got up and said that we were cutting the request. I don't believe you can really cut a request. You can either grant it, you can not grant it, you can grant it partially. We did not cut the fire department budget. As was said earlier, we added $7,000 to it. I also want to take a second and talk about the turnout gear and the safety gear that keeps coming up that, you know, I did see out there that we weren't funding the safety gear for the fire department. And nothing could be further from the truth. If you do take a look at the turnout gear line item, what the fire chief did request was fully funded. It was fully granted. So they do have the full amount that they requested for their turnout gear. So to say anything otherwise is a gross misstatement. And it kind of disappoints me that I have to get up here and say this, because it kind of comes to the, makes it look like we have to defend, all of us have to defend whether or not we value all of our departments. And I think all of us up here do value all of our departments. I think that's one of the reasons we're here as council people, is to make sure all of our departments get what they need. And so I don't like these misstatements about the fire department. We can agree to disagree about whether or not you think they should have gotten even more. But to say that it wasn't fully funded and that we are putting their safety at risk by not funding their equipment, I certainly take offense to, and that is my 2 cents on that one.
Thank you.
I mean, I want to add to that. I mean, I've been very, very unhappy with what's been going on for the last month or so. I mean, we worked so hard on this budget. I mean, there was tears, there was screaming. I mean, we did everything we could. Huh?
I don't know about that.
And it was, you know, it was hard. And never for 1 second did I ever think that bringing a zero budget, which I might add, I've never done anything in my life for political reasons, just to, you know, just to address that, that we would have people that want us to raise taxes that have been begging us to lower them after 17 years. I mean, you can't win. You know, I've never seen anything like it. I mean, I was so tickled pink to see the zero budget, and I didn't feel we cut anything to, you know, to counteract what has been going on here. I mean, it's, you know, it's been used as a political talking point. I mean, like I said, I was very happy with the budget. I'm not happy about, obviously, spending, which has always been my weak point. But I was, you know, really happy with the budget, and we really worked hard on it to get it done for the taxpayers of Garwood. So like I said, I think we can go from there, and we were happy about it. Maybe some people don't agree with it, but I never thought I'd see the day that they would disagree with it because it's zero. I am speechless, and that's all I have to say about it.
I'll answer that. I have something to say. I cannot support the passage of the 2018 budget, even though it means a $0 municipal tax increase. There are many reasons why I can't support this narrow focus approach to our town's finances. But the main driver is because this budget takes one-time infusions of revenue and places them into the operational budget without any consideration to reducing long-term structural inefficiencies such as garbage pickup and reducing growing debt with our increased capital spending. There are no plans in this budget to address our lack of surplus, whatever that may be, and what an adequate surplus should be in Garwood. The best way to address this issue is in a year where there are higher revenue streams like the one we have now. That way we can have funds for when we have a shortfall of revenue. This year's budget calls on $15,000 to be deposited in our capital improvement fund. However, the down payment on our proposed capital spending would be $16,500. This will cripple our fund some more and would explain why our capital improvement fund has dwindled from $200,000 10 years ago to $124,000 today. This current budget only contains minuscule increases for our recreation department, seniors, first aid squad, and even denies modest increases to our volunteer fire department. Most of all, this budget was decided by March 6th and has had no intention of changing. Not once was I contacted to see what would need to be done to get a unanimous vote on this year's budget. Additionally, with the Garwood mayoral campaign fully underway, it has become clear that a $0 budget increase would be the campaign slogan and rallying cry of certain candidates on the dais, and that decisions of preserving our future with austerity today would be placed on the back burner until this is revisited next year. It is disappointing, and now I can only pray that future revenue increases be used with a forward-looking eye. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Any final thoughts?
Yeah, Mayor,
Yes.
if I may, I guess I was the spear person that bring up the budget meeting about the cut in the fire department. And it has escalated to something bigger than anybody could ever imagine what would go on in Garwood. And I'll be honest with you, I'm happy this happened. That must mean the fire department means something to all of us in Garwood. So you can take all the numbers and twist them and turn them, as I said in my response once only in Facebook. The bottom line is they requested $77,500 and they were granted $67,500. It's here on this page. You can't rebuke it, you can't take it away, it's in print. You can tell what you granted prior to this, what you didn't do before. You have a new chief, a new mind, a new forward passage, and what may make Garwood great. If you don't mind me using what Trump said, great again. Why are we taking this monies and not giving to him? And the reason why I say this, there's a big dispute here with the fire department. But when we talk about our DPW, geez, don't condemn the DPW, but condemn the fire department. So I just want to put that out there and put it in context. That's all for my statement. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further comments?
Yeah. So first of all, I do want to thank the Finance Committee for all the hard work. Having been on the Finance Committee last year, I know how much time goes into those meetings. It's an enormous time commitment, and I know how difficult it is to obviously decide what things are going to be fully funded, or what requests to honor and what requests not to fully honor. It's very difficult to make those decisions, so I thank the committee for going through the numbers so diligently and meticulously to kind of make those decisions. Having said that, I will be supporting this budget. I personally believe that when you look at the fire department, I don't think it's condemnation when you are not giving into a full request of a particular department. I mean, there are many departments that come in with lots of requests that they want additional equipment, and obviously a lot of it sounds like it is really important. You have to kind of weigh what things are needed and what things are perhaps we can wait on. And as Councilwoman Blumenstock mentioned earlier, that safety equipment was prioritized for the fire department. And I think that in this case, I trust that the fact that we also had a Republican and 2 Democrats coming together to a consensus that this was a fair budget, I think is a bipartisan agreement, and that is a good thing for our town. And I think it's okay also to say that we give the people of Garwood a break 1 year for taxes. I think that's a good thing. So I will be supporting this budget.
Okay, everyone spoke already? So
I have spoken, but I just want to follow up because I have really been very open-minded when it comes to the budget, whether it was in the committee process or outside of it, as I believe Council President Blumenstock and Councilwoman Kukrow are as well. So I just want to clarify. So Councilwoman Kukrow, you do support the budget as it is right now?
Did I say that?
Okay, I just want to make sure, you said it's a good budget, but I want to make sure you
Oh, I-
plan to vote yes.
Yeah, I totally supported the
Okay.
budget. I've been saying that all along.
Okay, good.
No matter what we
I'm-
need to get along with, no matter the spending,
Right.
I wanted to give the
Okay.
taxpayers relief for 1 lousy year.
And I do appreciate that because we did work very hard together, and I think in order to be a effective committee or council is taking it one step at a time, not bringing in outside issues, but focusing on the budget. If we agree, great. If we don't, we move on to the next issue, discuss it, agree or disagree, move on. Keep moving on. Don't hold anything back. Just keep working together for the benefit of the people. The last item I have is Councilman Sarno and Councilman McCormick. It sounds like, well, Councilman Sarno said he won't support the budget. So my question for you, Councilman McCormick, will you support this budget, or do you have an alternative proposal for us to consider?
Probably gonna be a 2-part question or answer.
That's okay.
I find it odd that up on council, we are presenting a budget, and we are being condemned for questioning items in the budget. I think that's why we're here, to serve the best that we can give to our constituents in Garwood. It would be wrong if we did not question anything on this budget. That's number 1. Number 2, I am not in support of this budget.
that being said, I think we should take a roll call right now.
I just want,
This is going on a little too far. We've had this discussion. It's time for a roll call. Everybody spoke at least once.
But I see no reason why she can't finish what she was gonna say.
I just wanted to apologize to Councilman McCormick if he felt condemned in any way. I really think you've done a great job, frankly, for asking budget questions. At the special budget meeting, you came to the one the Finance Committee put together. We've had conversations on the phone. So I would rather say, well, not rather, I'm saying to you, I commend you for what you do. And I'm certainly far from condemning what you've done. Thank you.
Roll call, please.
Councilman Kukrow?
Yes.
Councilman Lazaro? Councilman McCormick?
No.
Councilman Sarno?
No.
Councilwoman Fidisco?
Aye.
Council President Blumenstock?
Aye.
Budget passed.
Thank you. Sarah Emma, minutes, please.
Regular workshop minutes of the mayor and council held on April 10th, 2018.
Do I have a motion to accept the minutes as presented?
So moved?
I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any more ayes on that?
Sorry.
Sorry.
I'm looking
We're all
ahead.
mesmerized. Communications, Ms. Ariemo.
New Jersey State League of Municipalities, Mayor's Advisory,
Receive and file.
Town of Westfield ordinance,
Receive and file. We move on to ordinances. Public hearing on ordinance 18-09 as advertised in the Westfield Leader. Ms. Ariemo, please read ordinance 18-09 by title only.
Mr. Mayor, an ordinance fixing the salaries and wages for the Department of Public Works of the Borough of Berwick and the County of Union, State of New Jersey.
Have you received any correspondence on 1809?
None, Mayor.
Is there anyone present who wishes to be heard on 18-09? Seeing none, do I have a motion to close the public hearing on 1809?
So moved.
Second?
Do I have a motion to adopt ordinance 1809?
So moved.
Second?
Discussion?
Yes, Mayor, if I might. This ordinance adopting these wages, in particular, the wages of the foreman of our Department of Public Works, was something that was discussed at our Finance Committee meetings at length. It was certainly gone over and over, and I was happy at the time, something we were able to compromise on, something where I really did feel we reached across the aisle on. The amount is less than I thought was appropriate. However, Councilwoman Kukrow was not comfortable with this to begin with, and we discussed it, and we moved together, and we compromised. I went down on the amount, and I felt really good about it. But at the intro, I did notice, Councilwoman Kukrow, that you voted it down, which I was very disappointed with, because I did feel, well, I know I certainly compromised to get to this point, and I thought you had as well. I'm going to urge you to reconsider your vote for this, because I do feel that it makes future compromises very difficult if our words are broken that were said in committee. You had said you would support this, and so I just feel any future reaching across the aisle will get very difficult. It will be hard if that trust isn't there, so that's what I'd like to say.
I'd like to say that if one vote with $1 difference is going to make a difference in trust, then I'm sorry for all the people that are thinking that. Because I tell you what, I don't get to be my age, and I believe there's been many trusts broken. I didn't agree with the process. I said that from the very beginning. Whether I agreed with what the raise was, basically you called a raise. It was less than what that person would have gotten, which is what I agreed with on the year anniversary. So like I said, I hope you don't go through life just thinking that $1 or one vote will decay the trust you have in negotiating going forward. Well then, I'm sorry.
Well, I would just say it's not about the dollar, it's about the fact that we sat in committee and we both said, if we both compromise on this, we will support it. I said yes, you said yes, and now that doesn't seem to be the case. So it does sort of, it negates anything we work towards. And it does harm any future negotiations if one person goes back on them. In this case, how am I supposed to know in the future that your word can be trusted?
The negotiation should have been upon a year's anniversary. You knew how strongly I felt about it.
I did know, and you knew how strongly I felt, and we went back and forth, and it took a long time to get to where we were, and that's why I thought we were set.
As
Any
the
further
chair,
discussion?
thank you, just real quick. As the chair of that committee, I know that both councilwomen were at either end of that, and we talked and talked and talked, and I kept saying, I think a compromise is possible, I think a compromise is possible. And I really left that meeting thinking it was. So when we came to the last council meeting and the vote, roll call was called and it went that way, I was honestly surprised. So was there a change in heart between the committee meeting and today? Or was it something that you really were not looking to support all along?
I really was not looking to support it because that's not what I felt should have been done.
Okay.
You know, I mean,
And I'll put the, Eileen's allowed to change her mind here.
Oh, absolutely.
You know,
And that's-
you gotta keep in mind, you guys have voted together on every single issue your entire time up here.
I
Done.
don't think that's, it's
I don't-
uncalled for me to point out that
This is
There
getting,
are-
I think this conversation is getting very personal. I would like to call the roll.
Thank you.
Please, Ms. Ariano, roll call.
Councilman Kukrow,
no,
Councilman Lazaro,
Aye.
Councilman McCormick,
No.
Councilman Sarno,
No,
Councilman Tedisco,
aye.
Council President Blumenstock,
I,
Mayor Lombardo.
Aye.
Ordinance passed.
Ms. Ariano, please read ordinance 18-10 by title only.
Yes, Mayor. An ordinance to amend 5-11 duties of the Borough Clerk and Article 2, Office of the Borough Clerk, and Chapter 5, Administration of the Code of the Borough of Garwood to amend the duties of the Borough Clerk to add serving as the issuing authority for raffle and bingo licenses.
Do I have a motion to introduce ordinance 18-10?
So moved.
second,
Roll call, Ms. Ariano.
Read, please. Councilman Kukrow,
yes,
Councilman Lazaro.
Aye.
Councilman McCormick.
Yes.
Councilman Sarno.
aye.
Councilman Tedisco.
Aye.
And Council President Blumenstock.
I,
Thank you. Ms. Ariano, please read ordinance 18-11 by title only.
Yes, Mayor. An ordinance of the Borough of Garwood repealing Article 5, Property Maintenance in Chapter 67, Buildings and Structures of the Code of the Borough of Garwood, and enacting a new Article 5, Property Maintenance in Chapter 67, Buildings and Structures, by adopting, with certain revisions, the 2015 edition of the International Property Maintenance Code, regulating and governing the conditions and maintenance of all properties, buildings, and structures.
Do I have a motion to introduce ordinance 18-11?
I'll make that motion,
Second.
Ms. Ariano, roll call, please.
Councilman Kukrow.
yes,
Councilman Lazaro.
Aye.
Councilman McCormick.
Yes.
Councilman Sarno.
Aye.
Councilwoman Tedisco.
Aye.
And Council President Blumenstock.
I,
Ms. Ariano, please read ordinance 18-12 by title only.
Yes, Mayor. Ordinance of the Borough Council of the Borough of Garwood, County of Union, New Jersey, adopting an amendment to the South Avenue 2 redevelopment plan concerning certain affordable housing language pursuant to the local redevelopment housing law.
Do I have a motion to introduce ordinance 18-12?
so moved. Second,
Roll call, Ms. Ariano.
Councilman Kukrow.
no,
Councilman Lazaro.
Aye.
Councilman McCormick.
No.
Councilman Sarno.
No,
Councilwoman Tedisco.
Aye.
Council President Blumenstock.
I,
Mayor Lombardo.
Aye.
Ordinance passed.
Ms. Ariano, please read ordinance 18-13 by title only.
Yes, Mayor. Ordinance of the Borough Council of the Borough of Garwood, County of Union, New Jersey, adopting an amendment to the South Avenue Transit-oriented redevelopment plan pursuant to the local redevelopment and housing law.
Do I have a motion to introduce ordinance 18-13?
So moved.
second,
Roll call, Ms. Ariano.
Councilman Kukrow.
no,
Councilman Lazaro.
Aye.
Councilman McCormick.
No.
Councilman Sarno.
aye.
Councilwoman Tedisco.
Aye.
And Council President Blumenstock.
I,
Ordinance passed.
Thank you. Moving on to council standing committee reports and other reports. Police, Councilman Sarno.
Thanks, Mayor. This Saturday is Operation Take Back. During the hours of 10 o'clock and 4 p.m., anyone wishing to safely dispose of expired or unwanted prescription medication can drop it off in the receptacle located in the police department lobby. There is still space available for the inaugural Youth Academy. The academy is open to children entering 6th through 8th grade of the upcoming year. Applications are available at the police desk in headquarters and also available online at www.garwoodpd.org. That's it, Mayor.
Thank you. Public health, Councilman McCormick.
Thank you, Mayor. To let everybody know, work schedule, I happened to miss that meeting due to the timing, so I have no report, thank you.
Thank you. Streets and Roads Ecology, Council President Blumenstock.
thank you, Mayor. In addition to regular garbage pickup, the DPW performed spring cleanup of the lawn areas north of the Center Street underpass. They also did spring cleanup of leaves, branches, and debris at the following area. Lawn areas north of the Center Street underpass, sports complex for the opening day of Little League, and Georgiana Memorial Park. They also began to assemble new parking signs and the poles, and began to call for underground utility markouts in the new sign proposed locations. They removed the winter banners along Center Street and installed carbon monoxide and smoke detectors at Public Works and in different areas of the municipal complex. In addition, the DPW prepared Hartman Park for new equipment installation, as mentioned before. Public Works completed the following. They removed old playground equipment, tables and benches, including concrete footings. They removed trees within the limits of construction that will interfere with the new equipment, and 2 of these trees were transplanted to other locations in the park. They removed existing playground mulch, and they removed all underbrush and shrubs from the limits of construction. All brush, trees, and stumps were disposed of at the Fanwood Recycling Center. That's all for my report, Mayor.
Thank you, Council President. Fire, Councilman McCormick?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So it's a lengthy report talking about the fire department tonight. So at the fire department, at the Russo Development acquired buildings, there was a pre-planning and making and building safe for the fire department drills. So on 4/4/18, 5 people, 4 hours, total of 20. At 4/9/18, 5 people, 5 hours, total of 25 hours. 4/10/18, 6 people, 2 hours, 12 hours. 4/14/18, 4 people, 5 hours, 20 hours. 5 men, 20 hours. At 4/16/18, 6 people, 5 hours, total 30 hours. So the total hours to get this building ready to do the fire drills was 107 hours. Next, on 4/17/18, the fire department drills started at 7 p.m. to 11 p.m., a total of 4 hours. In attendance were 25 firefighters, 4 junior firefighters, 8 Garwood First Aid Squad, 3 members of council, Councilwoman Kukuru, Councilwoman Tedesco, and myself. Second is, there was a ladder drill. On the scene was a 45-foot Banger ladder. A new version at 280 pounds would be a cost of $3,000, plus, as the council people were there in attendance, would cost another $350 for those poles that made it steady as they raised it. There was a roof operation on a bank roof, 3 to 4 search and rescues with the Garwood First Aid Squad in the basement, 2 search and rescues at the first floor with a 130-pound dummy, a total man hours of 148 hours. There's 3 pages here, people. Pre-planning for 4/22/18, on 4/17/18, 5 firefighters, 2 hours, total 10. 4/20/18, 9 firefighters, 3 hours, total 27. On 4/21/18, 4 firefighters, 4 hours, total 16 hours. Total hours for this drill, 53. On 4/22/18, the Garwood Fire Department, the Garwood First Aid Squad, and the Garwood Junior Firefighters, 21 members, 4 members, 3 members. The Mountainside Fire Department, Mountainside First Aid Squad, 5 members, 4 members. In attendance was council members, Councilwoman Tedesco, Councilwoman Blumenstock, Councilwoman Kukuru, and myself. The starting time was at 11 a.m. and ended at 5:30. 3 sessions, roof operations, basement fire search and rescue. 1 above session with the evac of the building and then returning to a drill. 3 sessions, roof operations, fire kitchen, search rescue with confirmed occupants. Fire operations to victim extracted from the 2nd floor window, 1 victim from the front door. The first session with roof operation, multiple floors on fire search and rescue. The RIT team evacuation of the building, ran a part found that the fire department was missing. Sent RIT team 1 and 2 to the 2nd floor, RIT team 2 to the 1st floor. Put RIT 2 and 3 in place of the building and located the lost firemen, removed them through the front door, turned them over to emergency medical services. That was the end of the drill. That's a total of 240 hours. The last page, on 4/23/18, the extra training at 7 p.m. to 10 p.m., 3 hours. Fire department members 12, junior firefighters 1, total 3 hours. Grand total of 39 hours. Forcible entry, wall breach, overhaul, window to door conversation rescue, resin nozzle operation, power sort operation, and pump operation. The total man hours for this entire event was $587. And Alan Tweedo, the fire chief, would like to thank everybody. That's the end of my report, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Two things. I personally, on behalf of the borough, sent Mr. Meeks and Mr. Russo a thank you for utilizing that building, the training aspect of it, just him becoming another good neighbor in Garwood. But I think we ought to send him an official letter from the borough, from the mayor and council, thanking him again.
I agree with that.
I guess.
I'll need your report as far as
You
March.
got it.
Thank you. Okay. Finance, Councilwoman Tedesco.
No report, Mayor, but we are meeting next week.
Thank you. Buildings and Grounds, Councilman Lazaro.
Thank you, Mayor. Last week, the DPW successfully removed the old playground equipment, a couple trees, and the top layer of mulch to make way for the new park equipment at Hartman Park. They were able to efficiently complete this job in less than 2 days, saving us money on removal services that would have increased the project cost dramatically. I have received notification that we have an estimated shipping date of all equipment for the park on May 11th, and according to MRC, the contractor, weather permitting, the installation should be completed within 2 weeks for an estimated completion of the entire project taking place just before Memorial Day. If anything changes, I'll be sure to report it at the next council meeting. The rec complex is still on target to be completed and open for use by the end of May, early June. Patavoni contractors have been working on this project since 2 weeks ago, and Falcon Architects have been monitoring that they complete the work to the specifications drawn. Our most recent progress report is that Patavoni is setting the point load blocking between the doors, as well as setting down the foam panels. All the rim boards have been replaced and the seals have been flashed in with self-adhered flashing. Next up will be the floor panels, which will be likely done being set at by Thursday, and then the openings will be flashed and the doors reset. After that, they will be working on finishes. And that's all for my report.
Thank you, Councilman. I'd just like to add that on Monday I did visit the site. I spoke to the Patagonia workers, and they seem to be very confident what they're doing and that we're going to move forward with the project. So just want to add that. Laws and license, Councilman Kukrow.
Thank you, Mayor. Laws and license, as always, seems to be having a lot of ideas thrown our way, and we are happy to oblige anything that comes that benefits the taxpayer. We have been working nonstop on everything from property maintenance to the never-ending fence ordinance for the past few years. While we are finally getting closer to getting all of these things done, it's truly an accomplishment working so diligently for the residents of our town. Last meeting, we had a short discussion about the rec complex and the changing of different ordinances for the rec committee. I did email Councilman Lazaro because he was going to get back to me after he spoke to the rec committee and said it was not ready to go anywhere yet, so that will be tabled for now. Also discussed was the ordinance for the puppy and kitten mills. And anyone that knows me will confirm that I am all in favor of anything that will keep our four-legged friends safe. I did speak to a few people, including Summit Animal Rescue, who do so very much for stranded and orphaned cats and dogs. I am going to be speaking with them either the end of this week or next week, and I would like this to be forward as quickly as we can. I've also included for council a drawing for the fence ordinance so that they may better understand what we have unanimously agreed upon in the Laws and License Committee so we can finally get this passed. It's been going on much too long. An observation I have is why does it seem that hundreds of thousands of dollars gets passed without full support in record time, and some things are simply put through the ringer? I wish someone could answer that question for me. Also discussed vehemently is the corruption at the county level and what we can do as a town to try and stop this. At the very least, make them aware that we are waiting and watching and are including other towns as well. I don't want this to turn into a political sideshow, as it does not matter to me what kind of Democrat you are. It is the corrupt ones we are worried about. And so I do not want this to be used for political purposes. Our focus should be, as always, corruption, no matter what party you are. But as the county is comprised of all Democrats, this complaint is on their plate. I have distributed also to the full council the correspondence I have received. This concerns Mr. Altman and Mr. Hudak and the shenanigans going on in Elizabeth. I would like this resolution expedited, as I don't want them running for the hills before we can pass anything. As I mentioned previously, anything important to use the language while the spending of taxpayer money is pushed through on mainly party line votes. We should all be on board with this type of behavior and do everything we can to do to stop it. Curbing your dog, what we need to know. We have had a personal complaint along with many others concerning people just using private property for the dog poop. One of the complaints came from the St. Anne's Parish that I might add never complains about anything. It was stated that it is now out of control. We already know there is an ordinance against this, of course. What can be further done to stop this nasty behavior? How many signs do we have around town to tell people that you must curb your dog? Although common sense to many, some people, as we know, have no common sense or courtesy for other people's property. What can we do? What can we do now? Another item that cannot be put on the back burner. So, I mean, I'm assuming this is an ordinance in town? I mean, do we have signs all over town about curbing your dog?
I don't think we have any signs.
Yes, a lot.
Well, this is, well, I think we can work on this further. Because, I mean, you know,
When we give out licenses, we give them a flyer and it says, "Don't post these."
and you know what, we all know that, but I've seen it firsthand, and if the church is, if the church is saying something, it's a problem. And like I said, you know, I've complained to people with, because, I mean, number one, urine wool takes the color right out of the lawn, you know, but I mean, what can we do to stop this?
We've got complaints before, Chief of Police always says, that if the police catch the person doing it, they'll issue a summons, but it's generally something that happens when they're not.
You're gonna take a picture of the dog pooping? I don't know, you know, like I said, Chris needs to say something, you
Graphic.
know.
Might be graphic.
And how, is pooping graphic?
Might lead to something, so.
I didn't think so. I mean, I
I
think.
suggest you call Chief of Police tomorrow and ask him.
I've asked the police commissioner to do that in the morning.
Okay.
Oh, you have? Okay, all right, well, thank you. What?
I just thought.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman Kagura, do you have a recommendation for what you would like to see this council do in regards to the ethics complaint that you discussed in your report?
I gave you the correspondence I received, so you can read it, go over it. I think we can discuss it at the next council meeting. Did you have time to read it?
I mean, I didn't read it thoroughly, but I'm familiar with it, based on what, you know, Bruce Patterson brought up as
Right,
well. And
right.
I definitely have major concerns myself.
Okay.
But I'm kind of, since you brought it up, did you have anything in mind that you'd like to see the council do as a council?
Yeah, I mean, I'm really not sure, because I've never really brought something to council that has been a complaint and a known problem. So, I mean, you know, I think we can all discuss it and see what we come up with. I mean, I don't know whether we will put together a resolution or what can we say, no corruption allowed? I don't know what we could actually say. Huh? So,
Maybe a letter?
Could be a letter.
The only concern I have is, no matter what I think about the issue, it's inherently political. I'm running for freeholder. It doesn't matter what I think about the thing. Once I open and opine about the issue, automatically, you say it's not supposed to be political, whether I intend to or not, it's going to be construed that way, no matter what you think. You know, that's part of the
If
issue.
the entire council is supportive of it, I don't necessarily think that's, I mean, I'm not saying it's not a non-issue, but I don't think it's gonna be as much of an issue.
Okay.
I didn't
Fair
think of
enough.
it as a political issue. I thought about it as a complaint from a resident. And
I
going
understand.
forward, that it's always down there. I'm not, you know, I'm not trying to do anything to undermine you, certainly.
No, I'm not saying about undermining me, just anything that comes out of my mouth in terms of an opinion could be construed as being political.
You want a muzzle?
I'm just saying, I mean, just think about it.
I don't think the things I'm
That's all. And I understand what you're saying, Mark, I do. And, you know what, let me stick with Mark on this. Thanks for bringing forward that resolution. And I know that it went to the Laws and License Committee. What I'm referring to is the ban of selling puppies at local pet stores. Do I have that right? And you really, what you want to do is go to places like Summit Animal Shelter, there's one in Linden. I used to volunteer at one. That's where we need to go. I flat out agree with this. I'd add it to the as a resolution to leave in the agenda. That's how strong I feel about it. Thank you for bringing this up. I know Westfield just passed it, so That's the way it's gonna be done. I'm in full support.
Well, that's what I was gonna ask. Ms. Ariana, what would be the follow-through on the puppy mill?
So you can just direct the lawyer to prepare the ordinance.
Well, I wanted to speak to Summit Animal Rescue. I mean, you know, I have
So you
two,
can
I
direct
do
them
have a
next
few
time.
different points of view on it, you know, from, you know, residents, quite
So,
frankly.
next council meeting,
Right.
bring it up again, and then when you have the modifications to what was presented, you direct him to prepare it.
Well, that's what I'll do. Like I said, I did want to speak to these couple people first, because I don't want to just, no matter what it is, no matter how I believe in it, I believe I have to,
Okay.
you know, investigate
Whenever
it.
you're ready, just direct me.
I will.
If I may, I'd like to go back to the graphic part of the dog poop. And I think that if it's not addressed somehow, some way, street signs, some flyers, you're gonna have some residents that may have to call the police department and have a confrontation out in front of their lawn with somebody who has no regard for other people's property. So I, as a resident, I have a deep concern for this because I don't really like when people poop on my lawn either. I don't have a dog. So I think we have to really address this and go forward with this in a hurry more than putting it on the side table. Thank you.
Point well taken.
I just want to make one other comment. In the annual mailer, it's also in there that you're not, you know, polluting and you have to curb your dog and all that stuff. goes-
That's part of that whole thing of stormwater management.
Mhm.
That's what it's
So
from.
and I don't think it's a lack of knowledge, just some people just do it.
They just don't care. That's the problem.
And I just want to say, Councilman Sarno, I do appreciate your full disclosure approach to the county-related potential resolution or letter, but, I mean, at the same point, before we run for any office, we're here to represent the people of Garwood, so really, any vote we do, it's like everything is political or nothing is political. You can't have it both ways, but I just would encourage you to do what you feel is right, whichever way that is, as a representative of the people through the rest of this year.
You got it.
All right. I'm sorry, can I ask Councilwoman Kukrow, at your last committee meeting, did you discuss at all the gun control resolution that was put forth to the council? Do you have any recommendations? Did the committee talk about that? Because I personally would like to see it put forth, but that's for our agenda for the next time.
Well, I mean, did we discuss it for like 30 seconds?
No, well, we really didn't discuss it, but the gun controllers, I would think, definitely had the laws and license would be in best hands of the chief of police. And I would like to say, don't involve laws and license on that, so that's my response to that.
Well, that's why I put it. I think that that's a recommendation, that's something else, but it's gotta start somewhere.
Yeah.
So I guess that was actually our committee discussion, was
Yeah.
whether or not it was for the committee to
Right.
discuss. So I guess we can clear up that point, Mayor. Did you intend for it to go to the laws and license
That's
committee?
correct, at this start, yes.
You do? Okay.
I mean, I personally would like to see a discussion of it in the committee or then following
Yeah.
the next meeting at a workshop. I mean, I did take a look at it and I would like to put it forward if we can get enough votes here to get it on the agenda, but if you would like to talk about it again in laws and license first, that's fine too.
I mean, we'll talk about it again. This is the, we're against illegal guns,
No,
No.
just in general.
no, that's not what it was. It was emailed to you, and it was just about supporting essentially some stronger gun control measures in New Jersey, and we have very strong ones, and it was just basically saying we support those measures. A lot of times, it is important for our states to have these measures in place, because if they are repealed federally, as long as we have them statewide, New Jersey will be okay. So it's basically just showing our support for it.
Well, I mean, basically, we already have the strictest gun control in New Jersey, federal government, state government. I don't know why this is adding another layer onto that.
It's not really adding another layer, it's just showing our support, but would you?
You can discuss that in your comment.
Yeah, we'll discuss that.
Okay, we'll move on. Recreation, Councilman Lazaro.
After a lengthy meeting this past Tuesday, April 17th at the Garwood Library, the Recreation Director reported to Scott Kessler that the 6-week summer rec program will begin on June 25th and end on August 3rd, and will take place at the Recreation Complex. The 6-week program costs $50 for a full 6 weeks, or $10 a week. 7 trips are being prepared, including trips to Pump It Up, mini golf, bowling, the zoo, and the movie theater. Other activities such as ceramics, bike rodeos, and scavenger hunts are being prepared. Dana Parkhill has been hired to run the camp, and Scott Kessler is looking to hire a few more staff members to fill some open spots. Instructional soccer has begun this past Friday, April 20th, with 6 total sessions planned. 12 kids per session are taking place from 5 to 7 p.m., 1-hour sessions each. In addition, a discussion was had in regards to the Recreation Trust Fund, and we are currently finding more information about the budget for our next Recreation Commission meeting. The commission will be doing research in regards to the vending machines and whether to rent or purchase the machines. Finally, the commission wants to make it clear that the average revenue from the complex rentals has averaged about $30,000 a year, and the closing of the rec complex has not impacted these rentals. That's all for my report.
Thank you, Councilman. Garwood Senior Citizens Liaison, Council President Blumenstock.
Thank you, Mayor. At our meeting on the 19th, we were treated to a CPR lesson from 2 members of the Garwood First Aid Squad. They gave us instructions on the proper way to do layman CPR by just doing compressions. We were even able to take a turn on their dummies, and were able to experience the difference between doing it on an adult and a child. And they even showed us the proper way to do compressions on our pets. So I just want to thank the First Aid Squad for coming and providing that lesson for our seniors. Our next club meeting is May 3rd. That's all for my report, Mayor.
Thank you, Council President. Library's Mayor Representative, Councilman Lazaro.
Thank you, Mayor. The Garwood's library programs for May include Knitting Club every Monday and Thursday at 10:30, Kids Chess Mondays in May at 3, Book Clubs Monday, May 21st at 1 p.m., Adult Craft Tuesday, May 8th at 6 p.m., Story Time every Wednesday at 10:30, Kids Craft Tuesday, May 8th at 6 p.m., Story Time every Wednesday at 10:30 a.m., Lego Club Thursday, May 10th and 24th at 3 p.m., and Movie Time every Friday at 10 a.m. The library launched Hoopla on April 18th. Hoopla is a digital media service that allows patrons to borrow movies, music, audiobooks, ebooks, comics, and TV shows to enjoy on your computer, tablet, phone, smart TV. With no waiting, titles can be streamed immediately or downloaded to phones or tablets for offline enjoyment later. Hoopla has hundreds of thousands of titles to choose from. Patrons just download the app and then use your library card number and PIN and browse and click. In honor of National Library Week, April 9th through April 14th, the Garwood Public Library waived all fines on overdue items returned during that week. In total, the library waived $129.58 in fines. They also accepted a book 6 years overdue. It was not many, I promise. 6 years. I really like that book. The Garwood Library is open Monday through Thursday from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m., Fridays from 9 a.m. to 4:30 p.m., and Saturdays from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. The library will be closed Monday, May 28th for Memorial Day. That's all for my report.
Thank you, Councilman. I don't know if the council saw that the Union County Consortium meeting this Friday has been rescheduled to May 18th at the Clark Library. That's all. School Board Liaison, Councilman McCormick.
Yes, Mayor, thank you. Hugh Thornton from the New Jersey School Board gave a presentation that discussed the new evaluations for superintendents. Each attending member of the board read through the bylaws and then were approved by the board. The school calendar year was approved. They were able to work so that they would not lose any days during the spring break or at the end of the school year due to snow days. The Finance Committee discussed redoing the gym floor, but due to the cost, it will wait till next year. The concern of the mercury data from the floor came back as safe. On Wednesday, April 18th, there was a DARE graduation for the 5th graders. Thursday, April 26th, is the EFG dinner from 6 to 9 at the Westwood. Remind you all, tickets are still available. The EFG will honor Denise Cafaro as the Teacher of the Year, and the park testing will start the week of April 16th and will run for 2 weeks. That's all for my report, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman. Celebration of public events and holidays, Liaison, Councilman Kukrow.
Thank you, Mayor. The celebrations meeting was fairly short but very productive. The first thing that was discussed was a fantastic turnout for the Easter egg hunt. 155 children attended that were separated into 3 groups. The weather was sunny but freezing from what I can remember. The Easter Bunny was a big hit with photos taken with him and the children. The next item discussed was the upcoming Memorial Day event at the Knights of Columbus on May 28th at 12:30. Sam Rocco was chosen to be one speaker, and the mayor has volunteered to get another speaker, hopefully a veteran if you can.
Thank you.
Of course, lots of hot dogs and chips will be served. It promises to be a fun event and is open to everyone. The third item discussed was the annual movie night. This year, the committee felt it was up in the air as the sponsor moved from Farwood to Westfield. They were not sure if they were still going to be sponsoring it, but they got word this week that they're still going to be sponsoring the event this year, and it will be September 14th with a rain date of September 15th. And that's all for my report, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Union County Air Traffic Noise Advisory Board Representative, Councilman McCormick.
Well, Mayor, I just can't wait to let everybody know on this one. I've been coming to these chambers for over 4 years, and I've never heard a report, and I am still waiting for my first date to go to this committee, so thank you.
Thank you.
report.
I have a couple
I have a good
meetings a
memory,
year.
she did.
They do.
Yep.
They don't meet monthly, they meet quarterly, so, or every other month, but, yeah.
Do they notify you?
Yes, if you, I've emailed, Councilman McCormick with the proper contact, so.
Okay, we'll move on. Specialty Review Committee, Councilman Tedesco.
No report, Mayor?
Thank you. Historical Committee, Councilwoman Tedesco.
None this evening, Mayor.
Thank you. Parking Committee, Councilman Sarno.
No report, Mayor.
Thank you. Ms. Ariemo, Officers Reports.
Chief of Police James H. Bragg, monthly reports for March 2018. Treasurer CFO Danny Grun, first quarter reports for 2018. Municipal Court Administrator LaShawn Durant, monthly report for March 2018.
Do you have a motion to accept Officers Reports?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
We'll move on to public comment. Anyone in the audience who wishes to address the mayor and council, please step to the microphone and state your full name and address. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes.
Evening, Mayor, Council, people. Russ Graham, 12 Liberty Court. Earlier this evening, there was this ordinance about the affordable housing language for the redevelopment on South Avenue. And I mean, I don't know what's in it. I don't know what it says. But it just seemed to me like a kind of a, something that just as a procedure, would need to be looked at and followed up on. And yet, some people on council just voted no. And I get the feeling that the no is coming from, I don't want redevelopment. Anything that's got to do with redevelopment, Russo 2, across the street, the paperboard, whatever it is, it's a no. And I think that there's some people in this town that still think that redevelopment's a bad thing, and they absolutely don't want to see it happen. And they think magically that DeSalle is going to open for business in a couple days or another week. And the other place, Petro, they're going to start making whatever they make. It's not going to happen. And the sooner you let these people know that we can't go back. When in 6 months' time, when all those buildings are gone, maybe everybody in this town will wake up and realize, oh, guess what? We don't have a time machine. You can't go back. This is the future. There's going to be some beautiful buildings there compared to what there is there now. And other areas of the town. Just like where ShopRite is, and the Point, and the Lofts, and Home Depot, and many other places around town. So please stop letting people think that you support going back in time. Not going to happen. Move forward. Put all in the past. Do the right thing. Don't vote no on things that we need. You guys are all looking out for us now. You're looking out to make sure that what goes there gets properly regulated. I mean, earlier you're talking about dust and hazardous materials and everything. Well, guess what? You guys are the watchdogs. Just like the guy there in the hard hat. So don't just take a negative attitude about this. Embrace it, because it's real. It's happening. There's no going back. Thank you.
Thank you.
May I address that? With all due respect, Mr. Graham, I don't think there's anybody up here that was against redevelopment. I, for one, I'm proud to say, I was against the size of this redevelopment. I've been against it for over 5 years, and I've spoken about it. And I'm not gonna sit up here and vote yes on something that I did not believe in since it started. I believe there's no critical thinking involved in it. It was a nightmare from beginning to end. I don't wanna go back in time. I don't know, maybe 20 years I'll go back in time a little bit. But I mean, nobody's looking to go back in time. I didn't want my town turned into a high-density city. It's not what Garwood was. That's not what I wanted. And I'm not telling anybody else to vote no or yes or anything. That was my choice. You know, that's all I have to say. I don't want to go back. I just didn't want almost 400 units on one city, one town block. Is there something wrong with me not wanting that? I mean, tell me.
No back and forth, please, you're responding, and yes,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jim Matthew, 335 Hazel Avenue. Mayor, I just want to comment on something Councilwoman Blumenstock said I wanted to correct. Permits issued for firearms, you must have a permit to buy a handgun in New Jersey. Firearms IDs are required to buy long guns. So the indication of how many permits have been issued really bears no relation to how many guns are in Garwood. Firearms IDs allow you to purchase some types of ammunition and an unlimited number of long guns. Also, when you purchase a handgun permit, that's not to say that you completed a purchase of a handgun. It costs about $68 to get a handgun permit. It's good for 90 days. At the chief's discretion, he can extend it another 90 days. A gun on the cheap end, $500. I bet a lot of those permits are taken out and never used. So that's not necessarily correlating at all with the number of guns in Garwood.
Correct, and I never meant to imply that it was. I just have the numbers from the police department as to how many IDs and how many permits there are. Neither one correlates to anything else.
Yeah, okay. Just want to correct that. And I just wanted to express my deep disappointment that we couldn't find $10,000 in an $8 million budget for our volunteer firefighters. I've had numerous experiences as fire commissioner and as councilman with the fire department, two very personal ones where they responded within minutes to a fire alarm in my home and another fire alarm on Thanksgiving in my mother's home. They were there and through the front door in minutes. And to go ahead and approve an $8+ million budget that lacks about $10,000 is something the chief says he needs, I just find incredibly disrespectful to those volunteers. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hi, Michelle Lucha, 524 Fourth Avenue. I just wanted to, Russ talked about not going back in time, and I just can't believe that it was brought up on me today that we were going to stop our plan for Hartman Park. And I just want to say that I'm so glad for Hartman Park is going to be redone. We live 2 blocks from there. It was already discussed that the equipment there was just unacceptable for children to be touching. So we're really looking forward to it, and I appreciate that that plan is going to be followed through on.
Thank you very much for your comment.
Yeah, hello. Ladies and gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, Councilman Bruce Madison, 325 Willow Avenue. Just back to this dog waste. I mean, everybody's beating the dog to death. But from 25 years of walking dogs, I get a sense that the problem of why it's left there is like, it's basically maybe people from out of the country moving in here, foreigners that maybe don't understand it, and also the young teen kids that walk the dog. Who wants to pick that up? The young kids, they don't do that. So maybe an educational thing over at the school, maybe.
As Ms. Ariana indicated, there's 2 ways they can find out about the dog waste.
It may be the younger, the teens, the preteens, etc. They walk the dog. They don't want that. So it stays there. Or something at the school, maybe a handout or something. But anyway, that's.
Anything else, Mr. Patterson?
A couple items. And I don't want to talk about this redevelopment because, it's dear to me. It's a big thing.
Understandable.
But I just want to ask, 18-104 is the revaluation of property by November 1st, 2019. What happens if we don't meet that date? Do you know what the repercussions are?
Well, that's not gonna happen, so
That's why we've gone forward with the tax maps and the hiring of the firm, so we make those dates.
All right, then ordinance 1710, the salaries, just for example, not that I'm thinking of, but Vic Vinegar, zoning officer, he makes $10,000. Does he get pension credits for that?
no.
No? Okay. No. And then on redevelopment, yes, we're talking about Garwood, but you know, redevelopment is in approximately 500 towns. So I mean, we're not just talking about Garwood, we're talking about all towns. We're talking about Scotch Plains having like 3,000 units because they owe a certain amount, about 400 of the affordable housing. See, the problem with that is, yes, every town has affordable housing obligations, and it's really a minor amount if you look at it. Totally, it's about I think the judge finally settled on about 180,000 total for statewide. But it's the developers that are saying, well, we'll satisfy your affordable housing obligation. However, we're going to need another 5, 6, 7, 8 multiple on each unit, which turns into like the 30 we have turning into 300 total units. That 180,000, it's around there, maybe say 200,000. But if you multiply that by 5 or 6 units, you're talking about 1.2 million residential units are going to be built in the next couple of years here in the state. 1.2. That's going to bring in approximately 1.5 persons per unit. So that'll be around like 1.8 million people coming into the state of New Jersey to live in these units. And at the same time, it's about the same approximation, but there's like going to be 1.5 million automobiles in the state over and above. So I mean, yes, we should have a concern overall. There's an Assemblywoman, Holly Shapizi, and John Bravnick is kind of on the point, trying to mitigate this major issue of all this overdevelopment that's coming with these affordable housing units. There's nothing wrong with affordable housing units. I mean, we got a major issue here. A lot of people can't afford houses. I can't argue that. But it's the market rate and the high density that comes with it. Something needs to be done. And legislatively, they ducked and they dumped it all on the courts. And with the builder's remedy lawsuit hanging over our head, where Councilwoman Blumenstock kept saying, oh, we have to pass it, or we'll be sued. I mean, that's under duress. We are obviously under duress. And we're coming up with these developments that are going to increase our population by 20%. I mean, does that make sense in the next couple of years? 20% more people? I mean, it's going to burden the services, the utilities, the infrastructure. Traffic now, the traffic testimony, when I showed up at the planning board here, the traffic testimony, the witness said, well, it doesn't make a difference if the intersections are now rated F, which is a failure. It's the severity of accidents that they are now concerned with. So everybody's just jumping ahead, missing the full point that we got major traffic problems. And they're saying, well, the problem is you sit in the traffic, then you're going to think about taking mass transit. It's just crazy. We're talking about craziness here. So, I mean, if people are concerned about this, they should be. Bottom line, they should be. They shouldn't embrace this change. They should be fighting it to a certain degree to ameliorate what the issue really is creating. That's the problem. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Seeing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda.
Mayor, yes. May we call resolution 18-106, please?
Okay.
Oh, from me.
Okay. Do you have a motion to approve the amended consent agenda?
So moved.
Second?
Roll call, Ms. Ariano.
Councilman Capuro.
Yes.
Councilman Lazaro.
Aye.
Councilman McCormick.
Yes.
Councilman Sarno.
Aye.
Councilwoman Disco.
Aye.
Council President Blumenstock.
Aye.
Do you have a motion to pass resolution 18-106?
So moved. Second?
Discussion? Hearing none, roll call, Ms. Ariano, please.
Councilman Capuro.
Aye.
Councilman Lazaro.
Aye.
Councilman McCormick.
No.
Councilman Sarno.
No.
Councilwoman Disco.
Aye.
Council President Blumenstock.
Aye.
Mayor Lombardo.
Aye.
Resolution passed.
Any new business for the council? This receiving Mayor Proclamation May 2018 Preeclampsia Awareness Month. Moving on from there, payment of claims, Ms. Ariema.
Be it resolved that the following claims as approved in the same on hereby were paid when properly signed and verified, and the payment of payroll as listed is hereby confirmed and ratified.
Do I have a motion to adopt payment of claims?
So
I'll make
moved.
that motion. Second.
Roll call, Ms. Ariema.
Councilman Kukrow.
Yes.
Councilman Lazaro.
Aye.
Councilman McCormick.
Yes.
Councilman Sarno.
Aye.
Councilwoman Fedisco. Aye. Council President Blumenstock.
Aye.
The regular meeting of the mayor and council will be held on Tuesday, May 8th, 2018, in the council chambers at 7:15 p.m. Workshop session to start at 7 p.m. There will be a public hearing in council chambers on ordinance -18-10, 18-11, 18-12, 18-13 on Tuesday, May 8th, 2018 at 7:15 p.m. or soon thereafter. And just remember, as discussed before, Students in Government Night is May 15th at 6 p.m. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. No, how about no?
Thank you.